Hi, I'm Heather. Welcome to the Knits and Things podcast. This is episode 5. I'd like to say hello again. It feels like it's been a really long time since I recorded. I think it's been about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more. It's been 2 weeks that I've been back at work. Teachers went back to work 2 weeks ago in my district, and this past week, Monday through Friday, was an entire full week back for students. And if you're new to the podcast, if this is the first time watching, welcome. If you've watched before, you've probably heard me say that I'm a teacher and I teach first grade, which is why all the segment titles that you'll hear have to do with Dr. Seuss. I love Dr. Seuss. I tell my students all the time. I told them at least 50 times this week, I teach first grade because they have the best stories. And really, especially in the beginning of the year, you're trying to get them used to listening to longer and longer stories and sitting and listening to something told, even though there's buddies around them distracting them. So you do get to do, even right off the bat, some pretty good stories. And I do love children's literature. And we really had some fun. And this class that I have is, it's a huge class. There's 27 students in my class this year so far. After Labor Day, we usually get another 1 or 2 here and there. Hopefully none in first grade, because 27 is a lot. And actually in my district, with budget cuts and everything else, the actual legal limit, which means nothing, because legal limit or not, you can have whoever walks in the building is going to get in your room. But the legal limit right now is 28 students. And for the way our district runs things, I think that's way too many. If our district ran things where there was an assistant in the classroom, then fine, give me 28 or 30 students, no problem. But to expect me to be able to fully meet the needs of 27 first graders who are on all different levels, come from all different backgrounds, and have, all different needs, special needs, high needs, low needs, attendance problems, behavior issues, it's a lot. Now I have had, last year I was very fortunate that I had a pretty together graduate student, well no, she wasn't a graduate student, she was working on her bachelor's, pretty together student intern from a local university, from Bowie State University actually. And she was pretty good, and I did sign up again, and I have another intern coming in this year. It's actually a little bit up in the air as to whether he'll be with me all year long. It is a man, and when I saw who was assigned to me, we got a kind of a list of names, and I saw who was assigned to me, and when I saw that it was a man, I thought, I've never seen a man come through, and we've had Bowie State interns there. I think this is our 5th year, and I've never seen a man for primary and for a lower grade. And actually, no, there was one, and I don't know. We said, in my mind, I'm thinking he's either crazy or he's going to be horrible. So far he doesn't seem to be either. He seems very, very together. He seems to really like the children. He put on a good front. He showed up, and on last week when the teachers were there, he showed up on the Thursday, a tad late, but there was a communication mix-up between his school and my school. And but he showed up in a shirt and tie, and then yesterday for his first day meeting the children, he showed up with a bow tie on. And they just the kids really loved him, and they really warmed right up to him, and were trying to get his attention and trying to ask him questions and things. So you could tell that they really liked having him around. So I feel pretty good about that, and hopefully he'll be just as much use in the classroom and do a good job like my intern last year did. So I look forward to this year, but man, I'm tired. The first week is always just... Matter of fact, on Wednesday, I woke up, and when my alarm clock went off, I went, oh my gosh, is it Friday? Please tell me it's Friday. I felt like I had done a whole week by the time Wednesday came around. It's a lot. It's a lot. No matter what I say about my class towards the end of the year, they always are so much better than what's going on at the beginning of the year. They're just, and I know I teach first grade. I know they're 6, but my goodness, they're babies. Oh my goodness. And it takes some getting used to again. And especially because I have no one in my life that's that age right now. Everybody I know is 5 months old or on to the knitting. So for thing one is the knitting, and for the knitting, I have a finished object. I chugged right along and I finished my brickless. So here it is in all of its glory. I like looking at it on there too. This was very interesting to knit. I like having the different sections, the different stitch patterns. It really kind of broke things up. You kind of knew, oh, I'm on the stockinette section. Let me just grab that because I can just grab that and sit and knit while I'm doing such and such. Or, oh, I'm on the ribbing section. I know what to do there. Or, ooh, there's that fun lace part that I can work on. And it was really great. So the brickless is a pattern by Martina Baim. I just listened to my knit girl, and Gigi Darling set us straight. Martina is German, and it's Martina Baim, according to Gigi. So not really Martina Bem like us Americans say. But there are 3 different sections, if you can see. You start with a lace pattern, and I could show you at the very edge, but you can see more of the pattern in the bigger sections. So you start with the lace pattern. And there's a really pretty, beautiful lace pattern there, nice and open. This has not been blocked, so it'll look better soon. Then you go on to a little bit of garter stitch, and then there is also a ribbed section, which is just 1 by 1 rib. And you just repeat those over and over, and there's a certain number of cast-offs you do at the end of each section so that you get your little sawtooth edge, which would probably hang better if you saw it this way. And it's really nice. I did use Miss Babs. This is the Miss Babs Yowza What a Skein, and I used the Biker Chick colorway. I used a size 6 needle, and I really like it. And now that I'm finished, I really can't wait for the first cold snap, because this is going to get worn, and it's probably not going to get taken off. And so this is how I'm thinking I'm going to wear it. No, it's not. Somehow there's going to be... Oh, I know what it was. There will be that little part. I want that little part to kind of hang down in the front. Yes. So I plan on wearing it kind of all bunched up at my neck. And then so that you can see the little sawtooths. Maybe I've got it wound too tight. But I just think it's nice and squishy and soft around your neck. I think it's going to be really nice underneath the jacket. It's definitely going to stop any breezes from blowing through and getting in through the opening at the top of your jacket. I think it's going to be really, really nice. It also doesn't feel too heavy, so that you could probably, just wear this on a colder fall day when you've got on a shirt that has sleeves, or you've got on a couple layers. You put this around your neck and you don't need to take a jacket, because the scarf really does keep you warm. So I can't wait to wear it. I think it looks really nice. And I like it up against this navy blue shirt too. I have plans, and when I get to the section where I'm going to talk about things that I'm planning on knitting, I'm going to show you a hat that I want to make for my guy using my leftovers and some navy blue. So I think it looks really nice. I think it's good fall colors. I think I'm going to like it. So I can't wait to block it. But right now we have my nephew comes to the house so often. He only goes to the daycare center on a part-time basis, so he comes here on the other days, and we kind of use our spare room as the changing room, and where we've got his little pack and play for him to take his naps in, so he can be away from the hubbub of the house. And so I think this is going to have to be, as long as it is, I think it's going to have to take up floor space in there. And he's been here this week. He was here Monday and Tuesday, because the daycare was closed on Monday. He was here Monday and Tuesday, and he will be here, Monday and Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday and Thursday are what he's normally here, and then he'll be here again tomorrow. So there's been no time for me to put it, soak it, bring it out, and get it, laying on the floor to dry for that much longer. So there's my finished object. That's the only finished object I have to show you. I did finish my section on one of the traveling socks I was working on, but I had to send those off because everybody's moving right along, so I didn't have anything else there. And like I said, the brickless and my dahlia cardigan, like I said last time, are really the only 2 things that I'm working on, so that I can get some things a little more finished, or, with a little more progress on them. And both of these were also for a knit along. So I'm going to show you my progress on my dahlia, and I'm going to let you know that I'm very tired of stockinette on fingering weight yarn on size 4 needles. both of the other sweaters I work on, because I do have my folded in a project bag in my car, and it goes in with me if my son and I go to dinner somewhere, or if I'm sitting somewhere, or if I have a doctor's appointment or something. I take that because I know I can just knit around and around and around, and I've got, I think, like close to 20 inches that I had to do for my size and for my extra long torso. So I just kind of keep it in there, but that is also, and that is even thinner yarn than this, but that is definitely a fingering weight yarn. It's on size 4 needles, and it's just stockinette. So I've kind of overloaded myself in the stockinette department. The Dahlia, at least, you knit one side and purl one side, so it's a little bit, got a little bit of a mix up in there, but I also think it's going a little bit slower. I'm a slower purler than I am knitter. I can knit much faster and more evenly without paying attention than I can purling. I have to pay a little bit more attention when I purl, and I'm a little slower. So this is my Dahlia. Again, the Dahlia is a pattern from Heather Zapetti that was in Interweave in 2011. Yes, fall 2011. It's got a back panel in lace, and then the rest of this sweater is in stockinette. And it's gorgeous, but it's a lot of work. So I think I'm really gonna like this sweater, but man, I wish it was here already. So I have done the back, and now I'm working on the right side. I actually am about 2 inches away from being finished with the right side, and I'm actually pretty impressed because I'm just now getting to the end of this first skein of purple that I've used. So I'm thinking something was up with the green. Maybe I got the green and I had used a little bit of it somewhere. I actually might have used this green for my nephew's sweater I did. So I'm just now approaching the end of the skein of silky wool, because both of these colors are Elspeth Levold silky wool. This is a purple color that is very close to the acai if you're doing or participating in the Yarniacs Fall Colors Knit Along. This is a purple very close to the acai color. And then the green has little hints of the, I'm not going to remember. It's not emerald, is it? Emerald is the Pantone color of the season, or color of the year. But this color is not, the green is not emerald, is it? It's whatever green goes with the fall color palette. So there's the green and the purple being used together. But I was afraid, as I started out, I'm thinking, man, that's a lot of stockinette. When I was maybe 4 or 5 inches into it, I'm thinking, that's a whole lot of stockinette. I'll bet that I don't have enough yarn, because I think I only have 5 balls of the purple. I think I have 5 of the purple and I had 4 of the green. Maybe I had five of both. But I was thinking I was going to run out of yarn. But if I am almost finished with the whole right side, and I have this much left, I don't think this is definitely, I'm definitely going to have to switch to another ball before I finish the front of the right side, because I have about another inch. I'm thinking I might add an extra inch just in case for coverage across the girls. And then I have a little bit of seed stitch to do to kind of mirror this edge up top here. So I'm pretty impressed with how far I went. My thoughts were, when I was knitting and I thought that I might run out, were, this is the back, and I had planned on doing just the purple for the back, or I'm sorry, the green for the back, the purple for the fronts and the arms, and then at the edge of the arms I was going to add a little bit of green when I do the little seed stitch edge around the arms. And I thought that that was going to be it, and I was going to be done. Well, I guess I didn't quite calculate how much percentage-wise the fronts and the back were going to take up, and I really only used 1 ball for the lacy back. So I have plenty of green left, and I was thinking, as I was knitting and wondering if I was going to run out, if I do run out of the purple, if I don't think I'm going to have enough of the purple left to do both arms as well, that I might do green arms. And I'm thinking that that will be okay, especially since the back is green, and I love the 2 colors together. I think it looks really nice together. So this might be a little bit more of a colorful cardigan than I intended, but I think either way it's going to work out fine. I'll definitely have to see percentage-wise. Maybe I can figure out on the chart how much yarn I'll need left over to knit the sleeves once I've got the back, once I've got both fronts done. But the fronts are a big part of it. The sleeves are fairly thin and fairly fitted. So I think once I get both fronts done, the fronts are definitely a huge portion of it. And I know it looks very strange. It's a very weird construction for sweaters, which I kind of like that. In the past, I felt like that kind of helps it to move along a little more and helps you go from section to section. Oh, I'm knitting this section. Let me see what it's going to look like, because it looks so different from other things that you've knit, regular, just typical sweaters. Yeah, that was until miles and miles of stockinette on with fingering weight yarn on size 4s, but whatever. I still think it's interesting. I think I'm going to love wearing it. I can't wait till it's done. So, socks. So I finished my portion on one sock and sent it off. And then as soon as I sent the one sock off, because I had this one in the mail, or I'm sorry, I had received this one in the mail already. And as soon as I sent the first sock off, wouldn't you know that the next sock came in the mail. So I'm going to show you how the traveling sock circle works. And then maybe you'll want to go sign up for a sock. Maybe you'll think I'm crazy. Whichever. I'm still going to show you. This is what you get when you get a sock. You get in the envelope, sometimes in a baggie, sometimes not. You get a notebook from the person whose sock you're knitting on, the person who the sock belongs to, who it will ultimately go back to, and you get the beginnings of the sock. So you get 2 toes. The main part of the toe the person that owns them has done to set how wide their foot is, and then each person knits. So here we have one section that someone has done. Here we have another section that someone has done, and I really like that stitch pattern. Cute little, looks kind of like little bows. And then I'll be responsible for the next section. In the notebook, you get to say what you like, what you don't like, any allergies you have, colors. Some people name a theme and say what they would like. They might give you specific directions. If you could try and do this, maybe they want lots of lace, maybe they want no lace, maybe they want certain colors. This person's is pretty easy. This person is from, let's see, this is Nicole. She is on Ravelry, and her name is N. Westman or N.W. Esman, probably N. Westman. And she says this is the first time she's participated, and in the color section she asked for a couple of things. She says, my favorite colors are pink, neon, and glitter. I also like purple. If any of those colors ended up in my sock, I would be ecstatic. I would prefer if my socks didn't have colors like black, brown, or dark green. And she tells her size, because you do get to say your shoe size, how long your foot needs to be, and how long you like your cuff to be. But everybody needs to knit on the sock, so if you're somebody that likes a really short cuff, it might not work out, or it might look, a little odd, because the sections need to be divvied out just right. Oh, and she's got a very narrow foot. She only has 60 stitches around her sock. All right, so she started her sock. She put her notes in, and then everybody else writes their notes as well. And these are all Ravelry people. They went to... Did that lady say who she was? She didn't put down her Ravelry name, but that's Jessica from in the group, knitted the second part. And then the person just before me with the little bows, that was Sierra. Chiara is her name. That's who sends to me, and she's very gung-ho and very snappy, and she's keeping me on my toes here. She goes by Krusty Cupcake on Ravelry, and that's the section that she did. So these are ready now for me to knit on, but I'm still in the middle of one. So I'll show you what happens when you actually start knitting on one. So this is the one that I will be doing next. I'll make sure I put it in the right spot. This is the one that I'm working on. So I got this envelope as well that had toes in them. I'm trying to find the toe. Here we go. So this is what the toes look like that came to me, because they had only been to one other person. This was just Chiara that did her section on, I want to say that I don't know whose socks these are. Oh, and I don't know where her notebook is. Oh, I know it's down there somewhere. Oh, it's in her little envelope. So These socks were only worked on by one other person, and then I'm going to show you, while I dig out the notebook, I'll show you the section that I did. So after this, I thought that some green that I had in my stash would look really good. So you look at that while I dig out the notebook, because I really like the section that I did. How am I going to get it on there so you can see it? There. How about on the back of my hand? The section I did, I think, is really neat. I think it kind of looks like arrows. And that's not what I saw when I went through the pattern booklet to pick out a stitch pattern. That's not what I saw when I looked at it. But heck if those don't look like arrows right here, saying, hey, put your sock on this way, silly. So this was Jessica. Her name on Ravelry is H. Harrell, or Harrell, maybe. She's got 2 H's, an A, 2 R's, an I, and 2 L's. Harrill. And she's Jessica from Illinois. And she, don't you think, I've knitted some arrows for her, some little directional signs in case she forgets how to put her sock on. And I'm sorry, I know I keep sitting up too close to the screen and cutting my head off. I know that's probably bad podcasting etiquette or something, but I want to see it in there too. I think it looks pretty. So that's the section that I've done. Now I'm only partway through. I still need to do probably about halfway through another repeat. And I think what's supposed to be seen is this center section is what the focus is supposed to be. I don't think you're supposed to see arrows, but we shall see what happens when I continue. So that's the section that I'm knitting on hers. So that's my main focus right now with knitting, is my Dahlia cardigan and keeping up with the traveling socks so I don't keep anybody waiting too long. I always feel bad for having people waiting on me, and actually with these socks, I actually had the socks that I just mailed out. I had them ready, like my second day back to work, and it just didn't happen. I didn't mail them out, I think, until last Friday. It was crazy. And it's not because I didn't have them or because I didn't have them done. They were done. They were sitting in my car. They were wrapped up in the envelope. I just needed to take my hind parts out of my school building on time in order to get to the post office. And it didn't happen all week long, because that's how I get when I teach. It's a good thing my son is at my school right now, because I might never see him. I just get so overwhelmed with all the things that I have to do. So that's thing one, including Fox and Socks. I really don't have much. I did work a little tiny bit on my Socks on a Plane. Let me see if I can pull those out of here. They're in with the Dahlia cardigan as well. So I had finished the foot and I did the gusset. So you can see I'm ready to start my heel now. So I've widened it as much as it needs to be. Now I do the heel flap. And I haven't had time to go back to it yet. And these are the socks that I'm using my little cable ring from Leslie Wind. I just think that's so pretty. It's really pretty. I wish it wasn't, well, if it wasn't so pointy, then it wouldn't be useful, but it's such a nice quality piece of silver that I wish I could wear it like a ring, because it feels so nice, and it's nice and smooth and light but sturdy at the same time. I really like it. I really like it. I want to work on it. All right, so that is thing one. On to thing two, and thing two is spinning. Spinning. Yay. And for spinning, I have a finished object too, or finished objects, like this one, and this one, and this one. So this is the fiber that I spun from Crown Mountain Farms, and it's the BFL that I was spinning in the Rise of the Phoenix colorway. And I was pretty accurate when I guessed that as a final yardage I would have about 500 yards. It's almost exactly 500. I think it's just a little bit more, might be like 505 yards if I calculated correctly. Now, the only thing is I have not soaked this yet. Have not soaked it, so I will need to do that before I know exactly what I have, but I'm very happy with it, and I'm trying to think of what I'm going to do with it ultimately. I was wondering when I finished my brickless, and I liked knitting the pattern so much that I was thinking I could do it again for gifts, and that maybe possibly my sister needed one for Christmas. But I'm thinking that because the brickless does take almost all of a 500 yard skein, and because this is 500 yards, but it's also 16 full ounces, it's a full pound of yarn, that I think it would be too heavy. I don't know if I would want 16, don't know if I would want a whole pound. I think the Miss Babs skein was only 8 ounces total weight, and I didn't use quite all of it. I do have one little bit left. One big butterfly left. But, I don't know. So it might have to be broken up. Maybe a pair of fingerless mitts and a hat. I'm not quite sure. I think it would be beautiful as part of a sweater. I think it would be beautiful as just a top-down raglan sweater, and use this as the yoke, and then use for the rest of the sweater, use another yarn that pairs well with it, or use this for the body since it's 500 yards. If I use this for the body and use something else for the sleeves, and maybe a collar and a edging detail, that might work. I'm not really sure, but I do know I love it. I really think it's really beautiful. I really need to wash it and see what happens to it once it's finally done. But right now I'm just enjoying looking at it. So that's part of my spinning. That's what I finished for spinning. For what else I'm spinning, I told you I was inspired by Malia from the Yarn Raising podcast. Sorry, I'm getting a little text message here, and it's going to keep buzzing if I don't turn it off. I was inspired to go back to my Turkish spindle, and I actually was inspired to go back to my Turkish spindle, and I thought, when I wanted to spin on it so bad, I thought, I really like spinning luxury fibers that are a little bit slipperier than I would be comfortable with on my wheel, because the drop spindles for me go a little bit slower. I was inspired to go back and do some work on some fiber that I've had for a while, and to make, these are homemade luxury poonies. So I've been making poonies, and this one's been in the bag a little bit, so it's all kinked up. I've been making them with my hand carders, and I'll show you the original fiber. I actually had planned on, I had in my notes, make some poonies, but I think I have too much stuff to show today to do that. But I've been making them. Here's a couple, here's a couple of them. There's one, the very first one I did was huge. That's probably just pretty much a Rolag. I don't think that's really a poonie. I think it's too heavy and too dense. It's not compacted enough. But I've made all of these so far, and I put them on the scale to weigh, and they don't even register an ounce yet. And I have a whole big 8-ounce bump of fiber from Creatively Dyed that I got a long time ago, the very first time I saw her at Stitches. And I believe she was just starting up then. I know when I saw her at Stitches then, it was probably 2006 or 7, and her booth was a lot smaller than it got to be, but I don't think she had just started. I think my mother had seen her at Stitches the year previous, and but I've had the fiber for a long time, and I just never knew what to do with it because I knew it was going to be too slippery. So I'll show you what the fiber looks like in the roving bump or braid. This is it, and it's a wool and bamboo, or is it sisal? It is Creatively Dyed yarn, who I think is no longer going to be Creatively Dyed. It's very sad. Wool and Sisal. So it's wool and Sisal. It was called Ocean Fiber, and I think when I have seen her recently, that she had the same thing. And you can find wool and Sisal from other people as well. This is what it looks like in the braid. It's very much just a kind of a blushy color. It's got a little bit of a navy blue in it every once in a while here and there, which makes some of the poonies a little bit darker. And I've just been taking it, I'm kind of unbraiding it from one end and lashing it onto the carders to get just a little bit of fiber. I found that just a little bit works best. And I make my little poonies, and I've been using just a wooden spoon from the kitchen to roll them onto. So if you would like to see that, I can try demonstrating that, and I'll do it next time if you think that you might like to. So if you would like to see that, go ahead and leave a comment in the group, and I will plan on making a couple for you next time. But I think it's turning out really, really well. I haven't done too many of them. Again, it's been work time. Back to work is always a slow knitting week or month, as the case may be. So I think I've got one, and I think there was just one more on here. So one and this little bit that I've done so far, which is not much. Not much at all. But they really feel nice. And again, they're light as air. The ones I've done haven't even weighed 1 ounce yet. So I'm really having fun with those. Just, making a couple here and there while I'm sitting around. But as I was making them, I'm thinking, wow, when I was at my yarn shop, because I did go spinning last time. Last time I recorded, I was talking about getting ready to go spinning after I recorded. And I did go spinning up at the new Clover Hill. They moved over. They're in the same location where they were, the same building where they were, but they moved over to a different space, and they actually changed owners. There's a new owner. A couple girls that worked there in the past now own it, and the former owner is now doing some of her own color things on Etsy. And so everybody's kind of, things are kind of shifting around, and I must admit, when I found out that Jolene was no longer the owner, I thought, oh, well, maybe I won't, feel like that's my yarn shop anymore, and that every time I need to go to my yarn shop, I have to travel all the way up to Baltimore to do it. Maybe I won't like it as much. Maybe it'll have a different feel. But I tell you what, I've always said that the Clover Hill space was like an enchanted space, and whoever owns it is the most welcoming and warming owner, and that they run a wonderful shop. And so I always thought, why would I think about owning or opening a yarn shop when there's Clover Hill? And when I went up for spinning, the new owners were there and everything, and it was, same. They're very open, very warm, very inviting. The shop looks wonderful. It's very similar to the way it was, but the new owner, again, does her own thing with colors and fibers and yarns, and she has, a little bit more of her own things there, so it looks like it's going a little bit more indie, a little bit more new stuff, whereas before I used to think of Clover Hill, in the past several years, I would think of Clover Hill as where I went when I wanted good, stable, sturdy yarn that I knew was going to last and hold up for the sweaters and the garments and the shawls that I wanted to make. Dependable, sturdy, trustworthy yarn. But again, it's as if it's an enchanted space, and everything that goes there and every owner that goes there does well and succeeds and thrives and runs a wonderful shop that people feel like going to. So I'm right back at it. So I think that's all I wanted to show for the spinning that I have, but I wanted to talk about the spinning that I'm going to do. So I listen to the Knit Girls, and hopefully you do too. If you don't, you should, because they're hilarious and they're funny and they knit really well. But they were talking on their podcast, I think it was 2 weeks ago, about an event called Spinzilla. And it's a competition, so it's on the same vein as the Tour de Fleece, where you want to spin all you can, but this is actually a competition, and there are going to be prizes. And they're like, we want to win. So if you sign up for this, please be ready to spin. So I've been thinking and planning out my route. I made sure I set my alarm the day that the sign-ups opened, and it just happened that I was in my classroom that whole day, so I didn't have to leave a meeting or anything to go sign up. I just had to walk over to my computer. So I signed up on their team the first day it opened. Actually, you had to sign up the first day because their team filled up, like, I think within probably a couple hours. And there are 25 of us that are competing. Each team can have up to 25 people. And the goal is to spin, spin, spin. And it's really to try and get the word for spinning out there. And there is a small fee to enter, and the proceeds go to promoting spinning and keeping spinning going and keeping the word out and keeping awareness of spinning out there. So I have some plans. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spin at least one skein, one bobbin of my White Romney. And hopefully I'll spin a skein of that at least in between now and then. But I'm not going to do too much. Remember, I have a little bit of an issue with my hand. So I planned on spinning, when I thought about that, and I thought, well, I have that issue with my hand. I don't know if that's the greatest idea if I go in for something that's supposed to be a production type thing where you have to get out the yardage. And then I thought, well, spinning the Crown Mountain was so much easier because you were just letting it out. You were just doing, I kind of do in between. It's probably an incorrect cheater way of doing a woolen spun. So worsted, where you pinch and pull forward or push forward, I guess, doesn't work for me. That's what hurt my hand to begin with. I was doing some merino that I think I had the wheel set too tight. I was a very new spinner, and I think the tension was just wrong, and I felt like I was fighting it all the time, and I actually got a trigger thumb way back when I was first spinning on my wheel, and it should have been a quick repair. I've had friends that had theirs repaired. My mother's had hers repaired. I had a little cousin who was born with one, and he had his repaired, and they're fine. I have numbness still in my thumb, and I still am very weak on this hand. So woolen spun has always been something I was very drawn to, and that's my favorite way. That's the best way of spinning for me now. So I did a basic woolen spun, a cheater way of woolen spun when I did the BFL from Crown Mountain, where I like to pull back and just kind of let the twist go into the yarn as I'm pulling back, but I don't do a long draw. I don't do a standard or typical long draw like a real woolen spun is. So I thought, well, what can I spin that would be that type of spinning? What do I have that I can do that with? And I thought about the braids that I have and things, and I'm like, well, the braids that I have are not necessarily, unless I do some kind of prep to them. So what else could I spin? Because bats are normally what you would spin that way. Now the Crown Mountain fiber was very thin roving, very thin pieces of roving. So that spun up a little bit easier that way, but normally when I do this, I do bats. So I have some things that I'm going to spin. This fiber, this is called Babester Arts. This is, and she's an Etsy vendor who was actually at the event that I told you about last time, the Homespun Yarn Party that we have here in Maryland in the spring. And this fiber I got actually to make a gift for my mother. So this is right on time. The Spinzilla is in October. Oh, and you can still sign up. You can't necessarily be on, well, you can't be on the Knit Girls team, but you could be on another team. And they also have, you can sign up and be a rogue spinner. So I don't know exactly what all of the prizes are for, but I'm sure if they're allowing a whole bunch of people to run and to participate as singles, that there's going to be prizes for single participants as well. So this is Babester Fiber Arts, and this bat is, let me hold it this way so I can show you the bat with all of its lovely sparkle and tell you what's in it, because this is 4 ounces and it's called Ireland, which my mother is Irish, so I thought that was very fitting for her. This has in it merino, Polworth, BFL, superfine merino, silk, bamboo, Angelina, and Firestar. So this bat, I figured I can do. I can pull off little strips and spin that up with my little long draw technique. And I think that'll be neat. And I think it really does look like Ireland with the mead. I'm thinking of like the hills and the plains that you see in Ireland. That dark green is there, but then there's the brown of the earth and the yellowish green of the different grasses and things. And so I think that'll be really pretty. So I'm looking forward to spinning that up. I think that'll be really fun. And I think my mom will really like it, especially when she finds out that the name is Ireland. And she's seen this because it's sitting in my living room on the top of my stash waiting for me to spin. And I think that'll be really nice. So that's item 1 that will get spun. And I don't have everything that I'm going to spin. I should get one more shipment of a club that I signed up for by the time Spinzilla starts, because when I signed up for this, I decided to go ahead and splurge and sign up for, I've never gotten one of these before, but I figured a club is a good way to start. I signed up for the Loop Bats, and I'm going to tell you what the name of the club is, because it's the Loop Bat. She called it something. I think it's just the, I think she called it the No Sparkle group. I signed up for the No Sparkle group. And it's a 3-month club where, is it 3 months or 4 months? Where you cannot say what colors you want. She's like, if you like picking out your colors, this is not the club for you. You cannot suggest, hint, recommend, nothing. It's totally random. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to put in things that people are highly allergic to, like mohair and angora. Anything else goes. So I figured, you know what? If you have never tried a fiber before and you want to try and you're willing to splurge on a club, that's the way to go. Just let the let the artist do what they're going to do. So the first shipment came in earlier this week, and I can't wait to spin it. I really am a little sad that I have to wait, and it's one of the things that I wanted to do for Spinzilla, because here is the bump. It's green on the outside. These are the bullseye bumps, so you'll have other colors inside there. And here, woo, here's the color. This one is called Vernal Equinox. And so it's got merino, bamboo, and tussa silk, which apparently is a common makeup for her, because that's what I saw when I looked at her shop the other day, and she had just done an update, and there were all those colors, and I couldn't decide, and I just said, just forget it, just sign up for the club and have her choose some. So I think this one is really, really beautiful. I think this will be very pretty to spin up and then knit up into a gift for somebody. These are not necessarily my colors. I think they're beautiful. The color I like best is this blue that's right here next to the green, but I don't wear a lot of purples and things. I do love the green, and I do love that blue, but the purples and everything, that's a bit too shishi for me. But I think it's pretty altogether. I really think it's really, really gorgeous. So I think that would be very nice to spin up as singles, or even to do as a 2-ply, or maybe even a 3-ply, and ply it on itself so that the color stays true and the colors stay together. But I think it'll be really pretty. So that's the first one, but they come every month, and this was the August shipment, and she said they come whenever in the month, so I should get at least the September one by the time we start Spinzilla. And she also gave this little set of samples, and that's pretty. And I guess depending on what bump you get, you could spin that as like a little bit extra at the very end if you wanted to, for some little short color runs. So that's the Loop Bat, which is now a club that I'm in. So that, and on top of that, my Neighborhood Fiber, or my Club Awesome club, should be starting in September as well. So I hope I don't get too distracted by what I want to knit. So there's the spinning. I told you that I did go to spinning, and that leads us into Everyone Needs a Thneed, which is my enabling section, because I bought something while I was at spinning. I tried not to until they said, that is on sale today, you know. So at Clover Hill, they are, I think a lot of what's going on is the section that's on, there's a spontaneous sale every day where something will be on sale for just that one day, and it'll be 30% off. 30% off. So I think they're kind of clearing out some things that were left that they might not be carrying anymore, to make room to put other things out on the shelves. And so I bought this Dream in Color Classy with cashmere, and I'm going to take the tag out so I can tell you the name, but this ball, the ball winder she used, spins things a little differently, and so I'm afraid it's going to fall apart. So this is, this is Dream in Color Classy. That's the worsted weight with cashmere. It is only 200 yards, and it's in the Wisterious color, so I guess it's kind of like wisteria, and it's mysterious, so it's Wisterious. But this is going to be a the Weather hat from Megan Williams from the Stockinette Zombies. I really wanted to knit that hat for a long time, and I really wanted Dream Color Classy for a long time, so I splurged because this was a skein that was 30% off. There were actually 3 of them there. I really wanted to buy all 3. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't justify it. Then on the way home, as I'm driving home, I was thinking, if I had bought all 3, I could knit a brickless for my sister in this. Like justifying the whole time. And so by the time I got home, because the yarn shop is about 45 minutes away. By the time I got home, I had talked myself into going back up there the next day and picking up the other 2 skeins. I never thought about the fact that they probably wouldn't still be on sale. I bet I could have talked them into it. So this is going to be a hat pattern. I think it's going to be for me. I'm a little concerned because I don't always look great in lavender. I'm a little concerned, but you know what? It's going to keep me warm in the winter. Who cares if it washes me out? I'll be warm. I don't care. The next thing I want to show you is, and this will be another teaching story. So I guess the loop bat was a little bit of everyone needs a need, as was the first bat that I showed you. But the last one I want to show you is this yarn, and I'm already laughing. It already cracks me up. This skein I think I saw it twice. I think I saw it the first time when Diane of Knittables had it. And then I saw it again on the Sock Bunny, because it is Sock Bunny yarn. I saw it again on Sock Bunny, on the Sock Bunny Knit and Fit podcast, when she was showing what she was putting in her shop. When I went to her shop, it was gone though. And I wrote her, I sent her a message, desperate message, please, I want that yarn, please, do you have more? And she actually said that she had been asked to get more of it in so that she would do some more, and she would include a skein for me when she dyed it again. So this was dyed just for me. But this colorway, number one, is beautiful. It's deep reds, deep kind of blushy reds. There is white in there still, and there is a silvery gray. And the colorway name is Running with Scissors. And this is going to be a morbid story, which the colorway is morbid. She even said that she named it after her Sim characters, that when you play The Sims, I've never played Sims, but I know people that play it all the time. I think if I played it, I would be lost in it, and I would be absorbed in it, and I would never do anything but play Sims, so I've just stayed away from it. Kind of like Candy Crush. I just don't go there. Just don't even go there. So this is a teaching story, and this will be where I stop. I actually am going to talk a little bit about Gerald McBoing Boing before I go, and some things that happened so far at the beginning of his school year. But this is a great teaching story, actually. And I think I am going to make socks with this, even though it is cashmere, and even though the colorway is so gorgeous. I didn't expect to like it this much when I got it in. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a bloody mess. I'm not going to want to show that anyway. I'm just going to knit socks with it. But it is cashmere, and it feels really nice, and the colorway is beautiful. It would make a really nice shawl, I think, which I'm very tempted to do it as a shawl, but I also found a really nice sock pattern. So onto the story first, and then I'll show you the sock pattern. So my very first day teaching first grade, this colorway comes into play with that. My very first day teaching first grade, I'm nervous as hell. My room is directly across from the front office, and I feel like everybody's watching me all day long because they know I have not dealt with little people like this before. I thought I was going to be hired on at the school to teach 3rd grade or 4th grade. I actually was going to concede and take, because I knew there was a 2nd grade teacher leaving, I was going to agree to take a 2nd grade job. And the whole time they were planning on offering me 1st grade because I had already done my student teaching there. Anyway, so it's just a horrible mess. I'm doing my thing. At that time, my school was all open space, so there's a big pod. There's 4 other teachers teaching, or 3 other teachers teaching at the same time, because there's 4 classrooms in this humongous big pod, big room, like a gym. And they sectioned it off with office dividers. So it's noisy, it's loud, it's my first day, I'm nervous, I feel like everybody's watching me, and this little boy in the back of the room raises his hand because somebody's too new to know that certain things needed to be collected on the first day, like 15 minutes into the day. This little boy raises his hand. It's not even lunchtime, guys. Not even lunchtime. This little boy raises his hand. And now, 99% of my school is African American. Usually I have like one or two other types. Caucasian, Asian, Hispanic, somebody. But everybody is African American. Little boy raises his hand and he's white as a sheet. And he says, "I'm bleeding." And he raises his other hand. And heck if he's not, whoosh, bleeding down his arm because he had been playing with his scissors inside his desk. Needless to say, we all lived, and I still teach first grade, but now it's a punishable offense if your scissors are caught inside your desk. I collect scissors from everybody immediately on the first day of school, every time, and the kids are always like, "What is she talking about?" I make a big deal about it. It's not safe. You cannot have your scissors. If I find you with your scissors in your room, in your desk, you change your card in my room. And they look at me like, "What, is she crazy? It's just a pair of scissors." I don't even go there. So when I saw this colorway, I just thought, you know what? I need to have that. I know it's not running with scissors, but it's a bloody, scissory mess. Whew. So I thought it would be really hilarious to knit these and then wear them to school because my building is freezing. And in the winter, I do wear my wool socks to work all the time in my comfy shoes underneath my pants. So I just thought it was hilarious. So thank you so much for sending this to me, lovely sock bunny. The pattern that I think I will knit with this is the Bellatrix sock. And I think this might have been a free pattern. I've had it for years. It's been out for a long, long time since I was doing a bunch of Harry Potter knitting. So I think what I'll do with this yarn is knit this Bellatrix sock. I had tried to knit it before, but I was knitting it with like a rainbow type yarn. And there are lots of drop stitches in there. If you can see on the pattern, I know my head is disappearing again, but I want to make sure that you can see it. There are lots of drop stitches, and it makes kind of a very bedraggled, uneven, unkempt, nasty looking sock, which when you think about Bellatrix, that's what she looks like. And I think it would look really pretty in this. I think it'll be very nice with this. So when I finish Socks on a Plane, this is what I'm going to be knitting. It might even be, I might not even wait till Socks on a Plane. Once I finish my Dahlia cardigan, I think I might cast the Bellatrix on with this yarn. Oh, here's another picture of the sock. So it's just got drop stitches all over the place, and it just looks a hot mess. Just like the lovely Bellatrix. So I just thought that was a beautiful connection. I actually thought about that. For some reason, once I got the yarn from Kimberly, I thought about it. For some reason, I was thinking about it. I might have been going through Ravelry or something, and then this pattern is actually something, I guess I had been going through my sock patterns, and I remember touching the yarn that I had tried this with at first, and so this just happened to be out on top of my printer, and when I saw it, I went, oh my gosh, yes, that is exactly what that yarn needs. So I'm hoping that it turns out as well as I thought it was going to, as well as I think it's going to, and I will definitely keep you updated. That will definitely be the next sock that I cast on for myself. So I guess I should give you some more details about this. This is Bellatrix. It was a Socktopia pattern from July 2007, but I don't know. Actually, I think I was part of Socktopia that time because I got 3 different Harry Potter patterns. The designer is, I don't know. It's part of Socktopia for 2007. And you can see I already did write on there. Use Running with Scissors yarn in my very messy handwriting. I don't see the name of the designer on here. So maybe it was just like a collaboration of different designers that worked on the patterns that went out for Socktopia. But I do see a blog. I see a blog for people who knit the samples, but I don't see a blog for Oh, it's here, or a name. Here we go. It says this work is licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution, non-commercial, no derivative works. Licensed. Please use this design. Gigi Silva for Socktopia.net and Mama Monkey Designs in Honolulu, Hawaii. So Gigi Silva may be listed as the designer in Ravelry, and it's Socktopia.net. So if you were looking for it, I bet if you typed in Bellatrix in Ravelry, you would come up with that. I'll be willing to bet. All right, and so that Gerald McBoing Boing, number one, he asked for a hat. And I'm going to show you the hat while I talk about what he asked for, what he asked me to make him. So he loves when I knit him things, and that's one of the things I love about him because he's just so awesome. He asked one day about a hat. He told me, just kind of thinking, and he said, I really wish I had a hat like Mustafa had when we went skiing last year. And he asked for, or it was a ear flap mohawk hat. And I said, that was a really cool hat, wasn't it? Yeah. I said, you know Mommy can knit that for you, right? Would you? Of course. So he asked for it he asked for it in blue and white. And I think that's going to look, number one, he wears blue and white to school every day as his school uniform. No blue and white. And I think it's going to look like some sports team. And I don't even know who navy blue and white, what team wears navy blue and white. No, it's not going to be navy blue and white. But this is the navy blue. I actually used this to make him a sweater that he wears with his school uniform. So there's the navy blue for you with a bunch of lint on it because it's been sitting out in my room. There's the navy blue, and I'm going to use the rest of my biker chick as the fringe. So I'm going to show you the picture. The body of the hat. Oh, I want the picture to turn, and it's not turning. There we go. The body of the hat, or what goes around the head, and of course it's going to turn the wrong way every time. There we go. Don't turn. So the hat part, or the head part of the hat, will be done in the navy. And the fringe, I'm going to make the fringe much shorter so that it actually stands up and looks like a mohawk, will be in the Miss Babs. And I think that'll be really pretty. This is just a free pattern that I found from Lion Brand. So that'll be the effect of the hat, maybe. Like that. So that's his thing. But, so, and again, if you've listened to the podcast before, you know my son has type 1 diabetes. Lots of people know it as juvenile diabetes, but they're kind of getting away from that and for some reason, and going more into the type 1 and type 2, but not everybody knows that there are two types. So it's a big source of contention with parents who have kids that have type 1 and get told all the time that they fed their kids too much sugar. Yeah, not true. So along with his diabetes, he has things that he has to do in school, and it has nothing to do with how he learns or the way he learns or anything to do with learning. My child is very bright, although somewhat lazy. And he scores outstandingly on all these crazy standardized tests that we do. There's room for improvement, but the issues that he has with his diabetes have nothing to do with how he learns. It can interfere with his learning, but it has nothing to do with how he learns. And so what my son has is a 504 plan. And that's something that people with a disability can have if their disability could impact their education. So it's not the same as an IEP, which is an instructional education plan, which is something that has to be in place for someone who has a learning disability. Diabetes is not a learning disability. Diabetes has nothing to do with learning. Nothing at all. And at the beginning, well, this is the beginning of the year, but for a couple days, my son was in the wrong class. He was in with students that he did not belong with, simply because he had a 504 plan. And if it wasn't my school, and if I didn't get it fixed right away because of the people that stick up for their own kids and look out for each other, I would have been livid. because my son was put in with special education students and special needs students simply because he had a 504. And all his 504 says is he is to be allowed to check his blood sugar in class in case he's low, so that he doesn't have to walk around the school to get over to the nurse's office on the other side of the building if he's low and dangerous and in danger of passing out in the hallway. It also says that he has to be allowed to take his blood sugar before tests. Now, in the past, he's only wanted to do it for the big major tests, like standardized tests, where he thinks there's some more of an impact or a consequence, I guess, to him. But in my thinking, and in his teacher's thinking this year, I know his sixth grade teacher, the math teacher. I don't want to name names over the internet because I don't know if they would like that. His math teacher has a family member with diabetes, and he's very comfortable with management and handling it and allowing Zachary the leeway and the space to do what he needs to do to take care of himself in the classroom. But he told me when I went to have the little before-school powwow that he would have him check even before a math test, or before they did their health assessment or their science assessment, that he would have him check his blood sugar then too, because if his blood sugar is too high, then he can be a little fogged in the brain and not thinking straight and not able to concentrate because he's not feeling well and because his blood sugar is much higher than it should be. Probably what would be too high for him to be taking a test or to be asked to be accountable for taking that test would be 3 times what you or I would have as a blood sugar. And we would definitely feel it if our blood sugar was 250 or 300. We would definitely be feeling bad. And it's something that he could go through on a daily basis, or if he's stressed out, or if he had just eaten, or if he, for some reason we miscalculated carbs and he bolused too little for his meal, if he gave himself too little insulin or medicine for his meal. So that's just kind of what's been going on in our life. He is a big 6th grader, and it is considered middle school, even though he's still in my school building, which is an elementary school building. 6th grade is considered middle school, and the teachers that he has for his day are middle school teachers. We've never had an issue before. And so far we've had just, kind of a little bit of a hiccup. And like I said, it did get fixed, but that's kind of what's going on right now. It's kind of what's kind of weighing on my heart is, oh my God, I really can't believe that just happened. Because what if he wasn't at my school? What if I didn't get it fixed? What if I wasn't able to get straight answers from somebody who thought I was just being a pesky parent? Because I knew the kids, I taught the kids that he's in class with, and I knew who he should have been in with. And when he was coming home after his first day and after his second day and telling me who was in his class, I thought, they didn't do it. And I had checked up a couple times to ask, some of the people that, have a little more power and make a little more decisions than I do in the building, if he was really in the right class, if things really worked out the way we had planned the year before. And they said, oh yeah, this is what happened. And I went back, it was the 3rd day of school. It was Wednesday morning, and I asked, one of the higher ups. I said, "Are you sure that this is what happened? Because this is what Zachary tells me about his day, and this is a person I know should be in there, and she's in the other class." And sure enough, it just took one glance at a paper to see that he was on the list that should have, for the kids that all should have all been together. But he was actually physically in the other class because he had been told to be there because they were switching things around to put all of one type of student in one class. So it made me kind of sad. It kind of weighed on my heart just a little bit to think of the struggles that are still to come. It made me really appreciate the time that we've had. When he was diagnosed, it was the end of his 2nd grade year. And I immediately brought him to my school. He had been going to a private school. I immediately brought him to my school where I knew that, number one, I could keep an eye on him, but that the people there would keep an eye out and check up on him. And, they did. As soon as, I didn't even know, really, about a 504 plan and that we needed to have one. And the counselor at the school brought it to me and said, this is the paper that we're going to need for him because of his diabetes. Look over it and make sure that that's what you think we need. Check with your doctor, check with your family, check with his dad, and see if this is what you want and if this is okay. And it was at the very end of the second grade year, so we really didn't put anything more than what she first gave us into play until the next year. But for his third grade and his fourth grade and his fifth grade year, he was at the school. He got what he needed. People are looking out for him. But, you know, it's a big, bad world, and he's in a public school system that is huge. We actually live, and he goes to school in one, I think, if it's not the biggest, it's the next biggest. The biggest public school system in the country. There are, I want to say, 139,000 students in the school. It's pretty big. It's huge. And I just, you know, I'm getting more and more worried as time goes by. As time goes by about what he's going to encounter in his educational life and the struggles he's going to have to go through to do well in school with this extra challenge added in. So, you know, as if all the health things weren't enough to deal with the diabetes, there's that too. But he's, you know, he actually was really funny Wednesday morning. He's also a patrol, so he wanders around in the building a lot. And they had just done all the changes and everything, and he had gone down to drop his things off, and the one of the sixth grade teachers, which really he just had to switch homerooms. He sees the same two teachers every day anyway because they departmentalize. So one teacher teaches math and science and health, and the other teacher teaches reading and social studies. And he had been in the one teacher's class, homeroom class, which is really just, he was in with that one group that she had, and now he's in with the other group that the other teacher has, quote unquote has, but they see both teachers. They all have to go to reading and they all have to go to math. And he comes back and tells me, my teacher just told me I'm in his class now. He's like, what in the world? And then later on when I saw him, you know, halfway through the day, he came by and he says, I'm in with all the cool kids now, Mom. It was really funny. And really what it was is he was in with the kids that he was in with last year. And he didn't know, you know, he hadn't been in class with any of the kids in his newer class. So he was happy. I think he was a little shaken up. I think he was, you know, kind of on the verge of having a fit because there were already so many changes for the year to begin with. But I think he's happy now, and he's realized that he still sees his buddies no matter where he is, because when he's in class, and he's not supposed to be talking, and he sees them in aftercare when they're there to play and goof off and do their homework together and have a good time. So with that, I've gone way over. I apologize. I probably should add a little note in. Hopefully you saw a note when I started talking Gerald McBoing Boing that had gotten added in that you can stop watching here. You can stop listening if you don't care to hear about my child and his problems. But I hope you enjoy your knitting time. It will be another 2 weeks before I record again. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your knitting, and I'll see you next time.